The cry in the medical bay. The war had ended, but the scream still echoed in the ruins of the battle zone. The once busy interstellar medical bay now stood broken, lights flickering, wires hanging, and walls cracked with blaster marks. Human, field medic Daniel Hayes moved quietly through the rubble, searching for supplies, checking for survivors. He had stayed behind when others evacuated. He wasn't a soldier, just a medic. But he couldn't leave knowing there might still be lives to save. Daniel heard something, a soft choke sound, not from a comm device, not from a machine. It was the sound of someone crying. He turned sharply, flashlight in hand. The sound came from the far end of the corridor, where a heavy steel door stood half open. Moving carefully, Daniel stepped over debris and pushed the door wider. There in the corner of the dim room was an alien woman. She was on her knees, breathing hard, her body trembling. In her arms she held a small girl, unmoving, limp, with pale skin and faint glowing patterns on her forehead. "Please," the woman whispered, her voice broken, barely able to speak in the human tongue. "Help her. Fix my child." Daniel stepped forward. "I'm a medic, let me see her." The alien mother flinched back. "No tricks, no tests, just save her, and I'll give you anything. My body, my service, anything." Daniel froze. She wasn't threatening him. She was desperate. Her golden eyes were wet with tears. Her alien features, pointed ears, shimmering skin, strange ridges along her neck, twitched with fear and exhaustion. "What's her name?" Daniel asked gently, kneeling beside them. "Sira," she whispered. "My daughter. Only child." Daniel touched the girl's forehead. Burning hot. The child's breathing was shallow, barely there. "How long has she been like this?" He asked. 2 days, no medicine. I ran. We ran." The mother's voice broke. "They want her dead. Royal blood. She is not allowed to live." Daniel looked up sharply. "Someone wants her dead? Why?" "No time," the mother said, eyes wide. "She will die now if you don't fix her. I don't care what it costs. Take me, use me, just save her." Daniel shook his head. "You don't have to give me anything. I'm here to help. Just hold her steady." He took out a portable med kit and connected a scanner to the child's chest. The screen blinked with strange data, DNA strands not in the database. The readings were unstable. Whatever species this girl was, she wasn't pure-blooded. Daniel frowned. "She's half something. Her body is rejecting both parts of her DNA." The alien woman looked at him with trembling lips. "Yes. Her father was from another race. A marriage not allowed by the high families. They said the child would be a monster." Daniel wiped sweat from his brow. The child's temperature was rising, heartbeat slowing, organs failing. He connected a coolant line to slow the fever and prepared a stabilizer shot. "This will hurt," he warned. "Do it," the mother said, holding her daughter tighter. He injected the medicine, and the child's body jerked. Her eyes fluttered, silver, glowing faintly. Then she slipped into unconsciousness again. "She needs more help," Daniel muttered. "I'll need to mix compounds. Maybe patch her genes temporarily. I've never treated a hybrid like this." The alien woman collapsed beside him, exhausted, watching his every move. "You're different. Human males don't help for free." "Why?" Daniel looked at her seriously. "Because helping is what I do. Not for pleasure, not for payment. Just because it's right." She blinked, stunned. "You're strange," he gave a tired smile. "I've been called worse." Suddenly, a distant boom echoed in the ruins. The woman tensed. "They're coming." "Who?" Daniel asked, standing. "The ones who want her dead. Elite trackers. I escaped them. But not for long." Daniel looked down at the little girl, still breathing but weak. Then he looked at the mother, her skin bruised, clothes torn, pride shattered. "What's your name?" he asked. "Virella." she said softly. All right, Virella, he said, picking up the girl in his arms. Let's get her to the bio bed, and when they come for her, they'll have to go through me. Virella stared at him like she had seen a ghost. A human, protecting royalty, without reward. She didn't understand it, but somehow, in that moment, hope returned to her shattered heart. Daniel laid the little girl gently on the old bio bed. Its surface flickered weakly, trying to power up from what was left of the emergency grid. The medical bay, once filled with life-saving machines and busy nurses, now felt like a ghost ship. The air was cold, and broken lights cast long shadows. Across the cracked walls, Virella stood close by, her arms wrapped around herself. She didn't speak. Her glowing eyes never left her daughter's face. She looked less like a warrior now, and more like a mother fighting against time. Daniel checked the girl's vitals again. Her temperature had dropped slightly, but her pulse was still too weak. The stabilizer was slowing the breakdown but not stopping it. The virus inside her wasn't natural, it was something engineered. Something designed to break her apart from the inside. Her name's Sira, right? Daniel asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Virella gave a slow nod. Yes, her father named her. It means hope in his language. Daniel opened his portable analyzer and connected it to the bed. The screen lit up, showing Sira's DNA structure. But it didn't make sense. 2 chains, one native to Virella's kind, and one completely foreign, were clashing like fire and ice. Each time her body tried to heal, the chains pushed against each other. It was like a war inside her blood. She's mixed species, Daniel said slowly. But the problem isn't just that. Someone put something inside her. A code, hidden deep in her cells. Virella's lips trembled. I know they call it a death key. It was done before she was born. Daniel stared at her, shocked. You mean this was planned? Virella looked away. When they found out I carried a child from another bloodline, the council feared she would have power or birthrights no one could control. They couldn't kill me, I was too visible, too known. But her? They called her a mistake. A risk. They infected her in the womb with something no natural cure can fix. Daniel felt a wave of anger burn through him. This wasn't a disease. It was murder, disguised as science. I'm going to try something, he said, pulling out a small injector. I have human stem mods in storage. They're not made for her biology, but maybe, just maybe, they can help her body fight back. You'd risk that? Virella asked, stunned. For a child that's not even yours? Daniel didn't answer. He just focused. This wasn't about politics or species or payment. A child was dying. That was all that mattered. He prepared the mix carefully. 3 drops of stem fluid, 1 stabilizer core, and a touch of cryoblood. The injector hissed softly. He leaned down and slid the needle into Sira's small arm. The liquid entered her body slowly. Then came silence. Seconds passed. Suddenly, the bio bed gave a high-pitched beep. Sira's eyes flew open. They were silver. Not metallic. Not pale. Shining. Bright like the stars. Glowing from deep inside her. Virella gasped and stepped forward. Sira. The little girl turned her head slowly, blinking in confusion. Mama? She whispered. Her voice was soft and weak, but it was real. Virella dropped to her knees beside the bed, touching her daughter's face with shaking fingers. You're awake. You're alive. Tears spilled down her cheeks, glowing, like light tears from her strange skin. Daniel backed away slightly, letting the mother and daughter share their moment. But something was bothering him. The silver glow in Sira's eyes wasn't just beautiful. It was unnatural. No hybrid child should have light in their eyes like that. No normal DNA could create that kind of spark. Daniel returned to the scanner. He checked the readings again, and this time something new appeared on the screen. An encrypted pattern. Hidden behind the DNA was a lock. Not physical, genetic. Something that needed a specific trigger to open, and it was starting to respond. to the human stem mod he had just injected. Daniel frowned. This wasn't just a kill switch, this was a test, a gate, and it's opening now. What does that mean? Virella asked, turning toward him. He pointed at the screen. It means Sierra's body has a code hidden inside her DNA. A code that responds only to human biology. It's like someone designed her to connect with humans. Virella's eyes went wide. That's impossible. Is it? Daniel said quietly. Because it's happening. Right now. The bed beeped again. Sierra coughed softly, then reached out her hand toward Daniel. He took it gently, and then she smiled at him. It was small, weak, but it was the kind of smile that could melt a mountain. Daniel stared into those silver eyes and saw something strange. Not fear, not pain, but trust. Sierra had fallen asleep again, this time peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. The glow in her silver eyes had dimmed, but the warmth on her face remained like a soft light in the shadows of the ruined medical bay. Daniel sat nearby, cleaning the instruments he had used, though his mind was far from calm. Across from him, Virella watched him silently, her eyes unreadable. The silence between them was heavy. Not cold, but waiting, like something unsaid had curled up in the corner of the room and refused to move. Finally, Virella stood. Her long, torn robe brushed the cracked floor as she walked closer to him. She didn't blink. Her steps were slow and careful. When she reached Daniel, she knelt beside him and lowered her eyes. I meant what I said, she whispered. Daniel looked up. About what? Her voice was soft, but firm. About offering myself, my body, my everything. You saved her. That is more than any warrior, doctor, or male from my planet ever did for me. In my world, such a gift demands something in return. Daniel leaned back slightly, sighing. You don't owe me anything, Virella. She didn't understand. Her hands curled into fists. But I do. It's how our law works. Life for life. Flesh for flesh. We are not allowed to accept mercy for free. It must be returned, or shame follows. Your law, Daniel said, meeting her eyes, doesn't control me. You're human, but I'm not, she replied almost angrily. And where I come from, this debt will stain me forever if I don't repay it. Daniel paused, trying to find the right words. What if I told you that helping someone just because it's right is enough? She stared at him, confused. That is weakness where I come from. No, Daniel said, voice steady. That's strength. Mercy is not weakness. It's what separates monsters from people. Virella's expression cracked. She looked away, ashamed. You think I'm a monster? No, Daniel said gently. I think you're a mother who's been through too much. And I think someone made you believe your body is the only thing you have to offer. Tears formed in her glowing eyes again. She hated crying. It made her feel powerless. But something about this human, this strange, kind man, made her heart feel heavier than war ever did. No male has ever said such things to me, she whispered. Maybe they should have, Daniel replied. She looked back at him, her lips trembling. Then what do you want from me? Daniel was silent for a moment. He reached down, picked up a cloth, and gently handed it to her. I want you to wipe your tears. That's all. She hesitated, then took it, and for the first time since, she ran from her people. She didn't feel like a slave or a fugitive. She felt seen. After a while, Daniel stood and went back to the scanner. He rechecked Sierra's readings. The strange lock in her DNA had stabilized, but he knew it wasn't over yet. Something deeper had been awakened, something hidden. Virella slowly joined him. What are you seeing? She asked, more calmly this time. Daniel pointed to a blinking section on the holographic model. It's not just a biological marker. It's a kind of signal. I think when I gave her the human mod serum, it triggered something in her blood. Like a beacon. Virella's face turned pale. A beacon? Yes, he said, frowning. Which means someone might already know she's still alive. Virella stepped back, horror in her eyes. They'll come. They'll never stop. If they find her, they'll finish what they started. Then we keep her hidden, Daniel said firmly. Where? There's no place in this system that's safe for a child like her. Daniel thought for a moment. Then he said, There's an old shipyard deep in the asteroid fields. I was stationed there once, abandoned now. No patrols, no trackers. I can take you both there. Hide you. Help you recover. Virella narrowed her eyes. You would do all that? For us? Yes. She shook her head. Why? He looked at her, tired but honest. Because she smiled at me, and I saw something in her eyes, something worth saving. Virella didn't reply. She didn't need to. She simply placed her hand gently on his arm. It was not an offer this time, it was thanks, pure and quiet. In that moment, the air between them changed, not from desire, not from duty, but from something new, something human, something real. The room had gone quiet again, but it was not peaceful. There was tension in the air, like a string pulled too tight, ready to snap. Daniel sat beside the scanner, eyes locked on the swirling data streams floating above the console. Sira was still resting, wrapped in a thermal blanket, her breathing, now steady. Virella stood behind him, watching his back with quiet concern. He didn't say a word for several minutes. His fingers danced across the screen, running tests, comparing signals. The deeper he went into Sira's DNA, the more confused and disturbed he became. There was something hidden in her blood, something more than illness, more than infection. Daniel, Virella said softly. What is it? You haven't spoken since you started the scan. He turned slowly, his face pale, brows furrowed. It's not just a virus. It's not even really a disease. She stepped closer. Then what is it? He pointed to the display. The holographic DNA strands rotated in front of them. This here, these glowing bands, they aren't natural, they're engineered. Artificial sequences spliced directly into her genetic code. Virella blinked. Engineered by who? Daniel hesitated. They're encrypted. Whoever created this code locked it deep inside her. It was designed to hide until triggered by something human. Virella's body went stiff. So, the serum you gave her? It opened the lock? Yes, Daniel confirmed. And now it's unfolding. Like a book being opened for the first time. He tapped the console again. A new section of the code appeared, shining red. This section, it's not instructions for her body. It's a message. A message? Virella asked, her voice trembling. Yes, he said. And it's broadcasting, right now. Virella backed away. You mean someone might be hearing us, listening? Daniel nodded slowly. Not hearing words, but detecting the signal. It's small, like a whisper across space. But if the right ears are listening, they'll come, Virella finished. His sentence, her voice hollow. Daniel sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. We need to move. Now, before that whisper turns into a scream. But we can't just disconnect her from the bed, Virella said. She's still weak. Daniel gave her a steady look. We'll carry her. I'll carry her, but we can't stay here. That signal is like blood in shark-filled water. Virella looked down at her daughter and clenched her fists. If they find her again, they'll kill her. Daniel stood and grabbed his pack. Then let's make sure they never do. As he started collecting medical supplies, the scanner beeped again. A new screen popped up. Daniel froze. What now? Virella asked quickly. He read the display, eyes widening. Someone just tried to override the encryption. What? He nodded. They found the signal. They tried to break into her code remotely. That means they're close, within planetary range. Panic rushed into Virella's face. They must have had a backup key. The High families always prepare for betrayal. Daniel unplugged the scanner and grabbed the emergency stasis pod. We don't have a ship, but I saw an old hover sled outside in the wreckage. If we can power it, we can reach the canyon outskirts. There's a comm relay tower. If it still works, I can call in a favor. She stared at him. Who would answer a human's call in this dead zone? Daniel smiled faintly. Someone who owes me their life. As he gently lifted Sira into the stasis pod, the lights in the bay flickered violently. A loud hum started buzzing from above. Red emergency lights kicked on. The building had been dormant for weeks. This power surge wasn't random. They've locked onto the signal, Daniel said, jaw tight. They're already here. The doors at the far end of the corridor shuddered. Virella's instincts kicked in. She grabbed the nearest metal rod and stood by the exit. Go! I'll hold them off while you get her out. Daniel turned sharply. No, we do this together. They want me more than her, Virella shouted. If I distract them... Daniel grabbed her wrist. No more sacrifices. You're not dying today, not for me. Not for shame, not for duty. We leave together. Virella's lip quivered. She had never heard those words. Not from her people. Not from her past lovers. Only this, human, this strange man who owed her nothing, spoke like that. The crash of metal rang out from behind. Something heavy was breaking through the far wall. They didn't wait. Daniel slammed open the rear exit and kicked the power cell into the sled's console. The engine whined, then roared to life. He placed the pod on the sled and jumped on. Get in, he yelled. Virella didn't hesitate. She leapt onto the sled beside him, clutching her daughter's pod. Behind them, the sound of clawed boots and sharp voices grew louder, but the sled launched into the dust, speeding through the wrecked halls, fire and smoke chasing after them like angry ghosts. Virella didn't look back, because this time, she believed they still had a chance. The wind howled as the sled raced across the ruined plains. The shattered remains of buildings, war tanks, and old mechs lay buried under thick red dust. Daniel's hands gripped the controls tightly while Virella held the stasis pod, shielding her daughter with her own body. The engine whined, already straining. This old hover sled wasn't made for speed, but it had to hold, just for a little longer. They were heading toward the canyon, deep and narrow, the kind of place machines couldn't easily scan. Daniel had been there once before, years ago. It had saved his life then. Maybe it could save another now. But behind them, death was catching up. Above the desert sky, black shadows cut through the fading light. Silent ships, sleek and sharp like blades, hovered in a hunting pattern. Their engines made no sound. They didn't need to. These were elite royal trackers, genetically enhanced warriors built for one purpose, to erase what must not exist. And Sira, half royal blood, half unknown human-compatible DNA, was something they could never allow to live. Inside one of the ships, Commander Varex locked eyes on the sled. His pale skin shimmered and his neural implants glowed green as he marked the target. Lock signal confirmed. The child is active. Orders are to retrieve and terminate. His second-in-command frowned. And the human? Varex's lip curled. Kill him slowly. Below, Daniel felt the sled jerk. They've locked onto us, he muttered. Virella scanned the sky. Her sharp eyes caught movement, ships circling like hawks. 3 hunters. Maybe 4. Can you shoot? Daniel asked, tossing her a small plasma pistol. I was trained for war before I was a mother, she replied coldly. Suddenly, the sky lit up. A blue energy bolt exploded behind them, throwing up dust and fire. The sled spun slightly, stabilizers crying under the pressure. Another blast streaked past, missing by inches. They're not trying to destroy us yet, Daniel realized. They want to capture first. For her, Virella said, clutching the pod tighter. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Not happening. He jerked the controls and turned sharply toward the cliffs. The canyon walls were close now, just beyond a broken archway of fallen stone. If they could reach that tunnel, the ships would be forced to land. Then the real fight would begin. Virella turned, stood, and fired upward. One of the hunter ships swerved, avoiding the blast. Another ship returned fire, and the energy beam slammed into the ground nearby, exploding into a wave of heat and shrapnel. The sled wobbled but kept moving. A warning flashed on Daniel's screen. Engine temperature critical. "We're overheating," he said. "This sled won't last much longer." "Then we go on foot," Varela replied. "No," Daniel said. "You go. I'll hold them." Varela snapped her head toward him. "Don't speak like that. You promised we'd leave together." Daniel smiled, tired. "And I meant it. But if I don't slow them down, no one leaves." Before she could reply, a missile crashed just ahead of them. The sled flew off course, flipping once, and landed on its side near the canyon entrance. Smoke poured from the engine. Daniel groaned, his shoulder bleeding. Varela rolled over, coughing, but still holding the pod safely. She looked up and froze. The hunter ships were landing. From their bellies dropped armored figures, tall, fast, and inhumanly precise. Their armor shimmered like water. Their helmets were marked with golden crests, symbols of the Royal Cleansing Force. Varela stood slowly, plasma pistol shaking in her hand. Daniel pulled himself up too, wincing, and grabbed a makeshift blade from the sled's storage. 6 hunters marched toward them, weapons drawn. Then, a voice echoed through the dust. "Hand over the child, and your death will be painless." Varela stepped in front of the pod, fury burning in her eyes. "Come and take her." One of the hunters fired. Daniel leapt forward, slashing at the blast midair with the blade. A pure energy field sliced through the bolt, redirecting it into the sand. Varek stepped forward, face hidden behind his black visor. "You're just a human, medic. Why protect what doesn't belong to you?" Daniel's voice didn't shake. "Because she's innocent, and because I believe in something bigger than bloodlines." "Then die for your belief," Varex hissed. The hunters rushed forward. Daniel and Varela fought side by side. She shot with precision, he blocked with skill. It wasn't enough. One by one, the hunters pushed them back. Blades clashed, bones cracked, dust turned red. Just when it seemed they would fall, a loud crack echoed across the sky. Then another. Above them, a huge freighter dropped out of cloak, rusted, ugly but armed. The cargo bay opened, and a deep voice thundered through the speakers. "Daniel, get in. I told you one day your dumb kindness would get you killed." Daniel grinned through the blood. "Glad you're still listening, Juno." The freighter's guns opened fire, sending the hunters scattering. Daniel grabbed the pod while Varela covered him. They ran toward the ship, dodging blasts. They leapt into the bay just as it closed behind them. As the freighter roared back into the sky, Varela fell to her knees, gasping. Sira slept on, unharmed. Daniel looked at the chaos below and whispered, "They won't stop. But neither will I." The ship rattled as it rose higher into the storm-filled sky. Inside the cargo bay, smoke clung to the walls and sparks rained from loose wires. But for now they were safe, just barely. The hunters had been left behind, but not for long. Daniel leaned against the wall, blood dripping from a cut above his eyebrow, breath heavy. In his arms, the stasis pod holding Sira glowed dimly, the child still unconscious inside. Varela knelt next to him, her hands trembling as she touched the edge of the pod. Her voice cracked. "She's not waking up." Daniel glanced at the scanner screen on the pod. The signal in her DNA had spiked during the attack. The stress, the sudden movement, the genetic lock, it had pushed her fragile body past its limit. Her vitals were dropping again. Faster this time. "Her immune system is collapsing," Daniel muttered. The temporary serum helped her body open, but it also made her more vulnerable. Varela looked at him with fear in her eyes. "So, she's dying again?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He stood, swaying slightly, and moved toward the ship's medical corner, a cramped space filled with half-broken tools and dusty medicine cabinets. He dug through drawers, tossed out expired supplies, and finally found what he needed. A cryo-stim kit, an empty culture syringe, and a vial of human genome stabilizer. Juno, the ship's pilot and Daniel's old friend, appeared at the doorway. "You got 5 minutes, then we hit the edge of the asteroid field. After that, I can't promise smooth flying." Just keep the engines hot, Daniel replied without looking up. We've got one last shot. He returned to Varela, dropping to his knees. There's one thing I can try. I can splice my own DNA into her immune field. It might give her cells a chance to stabilize. She responded to human genetics before. Maybe, just maybe it'll trick her body into resetting. Varela stared at him. That's dangerous. Daniel nodded. Yeah, for her. And for me. What if she rejects your DNA? Then she dies. And maybe I do too. Varela reached for his arm. You don't have to do this. You've already done more than any male, any friend, any warrior. You don't owe us anything. Daniel locked eyes with her. It's not about what I owe, it's about what's right. She wanted to stop him, but she couldn't. Not when her daughter's life was fading with every breath. So she let him go. Daniel rolled up his sleeve and prepared the needle. The machine beeped once, warning him the transfer would only give him one shot. He drew his blood slowly, then mixed it with the stabilizer, letting it bond to the serum. He looked at Varela one more time. If this doesn't work, then I'll never forgive the stars, she whispered. He pressed the injector to the port on the stasis pod. It hissed softly as the serum entered the chamber. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything changed. Sierra's small body jerked once, then again. Her eyes opened wide, silver light blazing like a star caught in flesh. The pod lights flared. Her hands twitched. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then the glow in her veins started to dim, gently, slowly, as her body calmed. Daniel fell backward, clutching his chest. Pain shot through him like fire. His muscles tensed, vision blurred. The serum had worked, but his DNA had burned through the link like a live wire. His body wasn't made to connect to alien systems, and now it was screaming back. Daniel! Varela rushed to his side. What's happening? He gasped, eyes fluttering. Side effects. I guessed wrong on the dose. She held him tightly. Stay with me. Don't go now. You can't die after giving her back to me. Daniel gave a weak smile. She's breathing. That's all that matters. Sierra made a sound, soft like a bird's cry, and turned her head toward them. Her eyes met her mother's, and then Daniel's. She raised her hand slowly and placed it against the pod glass. Daniel raised his hand too. Their fingers met through the barrier. And suddenly the pain in Daniel's chest began to ease. The scanner blinked. Sierra's readings were syncing with his DNA perfectly. No rejection, no conflict. Instead, a connection. Varela saw it and gasped. She's accepting you. Your blood. Your energy. You're stabilizing her. Daniel blinked. That shouldn't be possible. Juno's voice buzzed in over the speaker. Brace yourselves. I'm taking us into the asteroid fog. The ship rocked hard as they dove into the dense field of floating rocks. Outside, explosions bloomed as the hunters tried to follow, but the debris tore through their formation. One ship exploded. Another veered off. Inside the ship, the storm passed in silence. Daniel collapsed fully, exhausted, but alive. Sierra blinked, once, then slowly fell into natural sleep, safe for the first time in her short life. Varela knelt over Daniel, brushing hair from his forehead. You didn't just save her. You became a part of her. Daniel looked up weakly. Then maybe she saved me too. The sky outside the freighter had turned dark, filled with floating rocks and dust. The asteroid field stretched endlessly, a maze of shadows and silence. For now, the ship drifted safely between the rocks hidden from trackers. Inside, it was quiet, calm. For the first time in days, no alarm screamed, no weapons fired, no blood spilled. Sierra was sleeping peacefully, curled up in a soft blanket, her glowing skin dim but warm. Her breathing was slow and steady. Her small hand occasionally twitched, her body still adjusting to the human DNA that had helped her survive. But she was alive. Daniel sat nearby, leaning against the wall. His face was pale, his body tired, but his eyes were clear. He stared at Sierra with a gentle smile, every ache, every burn in his chest. It had all been worth it. Across the room, Varela stood watching them both. Her posture was still, like a statue carved from moonlight. But inside her heart, emotions surged like waves crashing on a broken shore. She had seen humans in war, in politics, in greed, but never like this. Never one who bled without asking for reward, never one who fought without demanding price, never one who gave, and still expected nothing. She walked slowly toward him. Her feet didn't make a sound. When she reached him, she knelt, folding her hands together. Her voice was low but clear. "I made you an offer," she said softly. "Back in the ruins, I offered you my body, my loyalty, my everything." Daniel looked at her, blinking slowly. "I remember." "And you said no," she continued, her voice trembling. "But I didn't understand why. Not then." He didn't speak. He simply waited. Varela's hands shook as she placed them on her knees. "I was raised to believe females were property, bargains, tools for power or peace. I thought offering myself was the only way I could repay you." Daniel gave a small sigh. "Varela," she raised her eyes to his, "but I was wrong. I see it now. You didn't save us because you wanted anything. You saved us because it was the right thing to do." A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Daniel gave her a soft look. "You're more than a tool, more than a body. You're a mother, a fighter, and you're free. You don't owe me anything." Varela took a deep breath. Then slowly, she reached for the metal clasp around her neck, the symbol of her old house. It shimmered faintly with royal blue light. "I am of royal blood," she said, "and though I am exiled by the code of my people, I still hold power. I can still make an offering of bond." Daniel sat up straighter, suddenly alert. "What kind of bond?" "A life vow," she said. "Stronger than marriage, deeper than family. If I speak the vow and you accept, our lives become one. I belong to you and you to me. And my daughter too. No one can take us apart." Daniel stared at her. His heart pounded. He looked at Sierra, then back at Varela. She waited, breath held, eyes wide. Daniel stood slowly. He stepped toward her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "I believe in bonds," he said quietly, "but not because of vows, and not because of blood." She blinked. "Then why?" "Because of choice," he said. "Because I choose to stay. Not because I must. Not because you owe me. But because I want to." Varela stared at him confused. "You still refuse the vow?" "I refuse the idea that you need to bind yourself to be worthy," he said gently. "You already are." Varela's chest tightened. She had been ready to offer her life, her name, her everything, and he had given her back something far more powerful: freedom, dignity, a future where she didn't have to kneel to be accepted. "Don't know what to say," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "You don't need to say anything." Just then, Sierra stirred in her sleep. She murmured a word in her native tongue. Varela turned, leaned over her and brushed her fingers across the girl's forehead. Daniel walked to the small window and stared out at the asteroid field. Stars shimmered beyond the rocks, quiet and endless. Behind him, Varela whispered, "Then what happens now?" He turned his head slightly. "We keep moving. Find a quiet place. Raise her. Protect her. Teach her there's a better way than the world that tried to kill her." Varela nodded, her hand resting on Sierra's chest. "And you'll stay? Even without a vow?" Daniel met her eyes. "Yes, as long as I'm breathing." She didn't cry this time. She smiled, a true smile, soft, radiant, and full of strength. For the first time in her life, she was not someone's gift, not someone's tool. She was simply herself. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't alone.